my patience recently got rewarded by not buying the Disintegration Loops box set.
I saw
from Discogs.
that just got reissued.
Yep, for several $100+ less than it was reselling for on Discogs for the first pressing. And I feel great.
Does it also cost like several $100s to purchase it?
It's $200, which isn't bad for a box set.
Does it have like 8 records?
It's like 8 records. I think it includes CDs as well, which I don't need because I have. I mean, so here's the thing. It is a remaster. So like I am interested in like actually hearing the new versions of the recordings on top of like actually having. Here's the problem with that fucking piece is that it's not made for vinyl. And frankly, it was stupid to buy the vinyl, but I wanted to have it. Welcome to Noise Floor, a podcast about music through the lens of our favorite artists' discographies. I'm Matt Kistler.
And I'm Troy Sennett.
And I've already gotten us off of the bit that I probably didn't actually want to do where I referred to both of us as Dan, but it's fine. Today we're talking about The Armed's third album, Only Love. This came out on April 27th, 2018 on No Rest Until Ruin, much like everything else thus far. We don't have any real in-between EPs between the Untitled record and this one to talk about this week. But Troy, do you have any like kind of overall thoughts on this album to start us off with? I've got a couple of things that I do want to mention up front, but what did you think kind of on your first couple listens here?
So I guess I think this is just like undeniably adventurous, boundary-pushing music. It is very different in sort of tone and direction, I think, from Untitled. It feels like they are intentionally saying, like, we're going to make something that sounds different, that sounds challenging in other ways than our music has been challenging before, although it still sounds like, undeniably like The Armed, I think. There's a really good line in the Pitchfork review of this album that's where the Brandon Stossy, who reviewed it, describes it as it feels like a pop record, albeit one with rabies, which is a pretty good line.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think that it is a denser album production wise and thematically than Untitled was, and I think it is also sort of the I don't know about mystery, but like the vibe of the album is sort of increased by just the way that it doesn't seem like they talk about it as much or are as forthcoming about what this album is, what it means, as they were with Untitled, where they were pretty clear about it being sort of a media culture critique. Whereas this album feels a little more open to interpretation or just coming from a darker place. And so they're leaving some of that emotion just up to the listener to graft onto. What is your experience with this album, Ben?
So I feel like I like this album a lot. I feel like it kind of sets the template for where they end up going in a lot of ways, which is interesting, kind of given at least we'll say up front, I know a lot of people here listening know this band probably way better than I do, but I just want to say up front for anybody who is unfamiliar, just anything that I purport as fact may or may not be an actual fact, as I'm about to say. If you read any of the profiles on The Armed around this time, you'll know what I mean. But it kind of seems like the origins of this album were, well, one, it based on an interview I read, it kind of sounded like the band was like maybe not fizzling a little bit internally, but like just like, got Untitled out there, or the Untitled record out there, played some shows, needed kind of something to invigorate them. And one of the things that kind of came out of like this kind of the multimedia project that is The Armed between the Untitled record and this was so Stone Temple Pilots a while ago, they have lost 2 singers in their career as a band now, the most recent of which having been Chester Bennington, and they held kind of open auditions for a new singer in 2016-ish, I want to say 2017. And Dan Green from The Armed ? Daniel Green posted an audition video that is just this abjectly insane thing that could only come out of a project like The Armed. It starts off as kind of just an earnest, like, okay, I'm here. We've got a guitarist. I'm going to sing this song, and then it just goes off the rails, just in terms of both the production and arrangement of the song itself, the way that the vocals are delivered, the actual video itself, and then ends again with a very sincere all right, yeah, I'm Daniel from Detroit. Hope that Stone Temple Pilots, you see this and consider me for the band. And it's they talked about this as being as important of a project to them as anything else that they'd done around that time, because this band is just so holistically about making art, and that's kind of part of what the whole obfuscation layer is apparently supposed to be about. Is they want people to care more about the art than the people that make the art, but obviously that sometimes backfires due to the way in which the band is presented, especially in these profiles that are coming out around this time, where they bring people to the 3-story house that they make music in as a collective. They rented a Porsche for that noisy feature so that they could get pictures with it. Or sorry, they didn't rent it. A guy at a repo company owed one of the Dans a favor.
Yeah, I mean, they're building this mythology that if you're a kind of curious person about the the people making the music, or you just get sucked into the kind of the mysteries like that. I can see it being just it makes you wonder even more than you're supposed to about the who is making it or whatever. And I don't think that takes away from the records, and in fact I think that makes the records all the more interesting, because they are coming from this collective, and you think, well, there must be a mastermind behind it, but maybe there's not. Maybe they really do sort of maybe they really do sort of are ultra collaborative, and there's probably a lot more people involved than I even realized as I'm listening to this, because the credits are just The Armed, and also our featured drummer that we are working with again, which is an important thing on this record, because they'd previously worked with Chris Penny, they'd previously worked with Nick Yakishin. This one, they recruit Ben Koller, or maybe tricked Ben Koller from Converge into drumming on it, which is one of the funniest stories that I have yet read about this band. And there are many just kind of wild anecdotes that come out in these profiles. And anytime a journalist tries to write a story about The Armed, I'm never certain if the journalists are in on the jokes or not. And I mean, that's part of the fun of it. But yeah, I guess the story that they Kurt Ballou sent Ben Koller demos for this album and said they were new Converge songs to get him to learn them, and then also said that he was going to be playing with it was going to be a project with Robert Trujillo from Metallica is an extraordinarily funny idea, even if it's not entirely true.
Yeah, the order in which these things occur also changes depending on who you ask and what article you're reading. And it's just absolutely wild. But I guess the core thing I was actually trying to get at earlier is there's a couple of things that the band, the collective as a whole, kind of seems to cite as influences for this record. One of the concepts that kind of backs this is the idea of making a sellout record, but the best version of that The Armed can make. Another is they're deeply inspired by quote unquote bad albums from great artists, and vice versa, great albums from bad artists. They talk a lot about Lulu, the infamous Metallica and Lou Reed record, and some lesser known David Bowie records as kind of reference points for this. But I think maybe sonically the most interesting point of reference that I found kind of reading through these interviews was Andrew WK. And for Andrew WK's first album, he kind of described the sound that he was going for as wanting the record to sound like it was one just maximal instrument. Like everything just sounds like it is coming out of one thing. And I think that maybe informs this record the most sonically out of any of those like possible routes, because that is a prevailing theme throughout the record. Like everything just being like played and mixed such that it sounds like it's all being run through kind of the same machine. And like that's a sound design trick that like, a lot of live engineers use and a lot of people doing like site specific installations use. But I thought that was kind of fascinating that like came out of that first Andrew WK record. The other funny thing with the Ben Koller bit is that they supposedly re-recorded and rearranged parts of the album to make it sound more like Converge to trick him into doing that part. Like it's wild, man.
That's funny.
So yeah,
out of curiosity, did they? I don't remember. Did they cite any specific great albums by bad artists? Because those are solid picks for bad albums by great artists. But I'm curious about the inverse there.
I know that one was mentioned, but I do not know that I have it pulled up here. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can find it here.
I'm trying to think of one if I have one off the top of my head, and I really don't. Like, there must be.
Yeah, no. There's a pull quote about it, but then they only talk about the bad albums, right? Yeah. By great artists.
Which Lulu is such a iconic version of that.
Oh yeah,
the little bit in the noisy piece about them just like playing Lulu in the van and the writer being uncertain whether that was supposed to be ironic or if he was supposed to be reacting to it or not is so good.
Yeah, everything about like that noisy piece is just abject. I will probably link it in our socials.
It's so good. It's one of the best.
But like everybody should read this.
One of the best pieces of music journalism ever.
Yeah. There's this was brought to my attention earlier today, but there's also a Detroit Metro Times interview done by this like freelancer, which almost makes it sound more credible in a way. But like seems like he has a very similar experience.
Yeah.
As the person who did the noisy piece, but yeah, there's a lot going on here. There's people in ghillie suits. There's a lot of fog. There's a lot of going to Calumet Fisheries on the way to play your release show. It's great. Everything around the like kind of press cycle for this album is amazing and worth it on its own.
Sure wish that I had known about this band in 2018 so I could have gone to see them play this record release show in like a laundromat or wherever it was they did it.
Same, honestly. I don't know what the hell was wrong with me that I wasn't already on this band at this point.
Yeah. So thematically on this album, do you think this album is like, do you see it as sort of responding to like the political moment or the cultural moment in the way that Untitled was, or do you think they're going for something different here?
I think it is kind of responding to the kind of it's kind of a hybrid, I think. Like a prevailing theme on this album, like it, to be clear, like doesn't have like as clear of a thesis as the Untitled album did. But like I do see like kind of themes of like hopelessness and like this record's pretty dark, like even compared to the Untitled record.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, you ask any member of the band what the deal with the title is, and they will say, like, of course, like this goes back to like, do these people just have a script or what, or do they sincerely believe this? If an oracle came to me and told me one of the two was true, I would believe them unquestionably either way. But like in that noisy piece, I think Kara is asked why love, And her response is, because it's the only surefire solution. It's stupid and childish, impossibly simple. And then in another interview, one of the Dans said, Dan Stolarski, or somebody pretending to be Dan Stolarski, says something along the lines of, a lot of things are bumming people out these days. We're a solutions-oriented band. The only solution could be love. That's the only thing that would make it okay. Which, like, I like that as an outlook on this album, given what the kind of text seems to be. Like none of it is about romantic love. I think that's very apparent, but like I think the idea of writing an album that is, like, in many ways very dire, but framing it through this kind of lens of, but love is the solution to this, is like kind of beautiful, honestly. I kind of love it.
Well, there's that side of it, but also reading those two quotes back to back almost makes it feel like this sort of corporatized hippie love idea, which lines up with it. This idea of we tried to write a sellout album, which is just again kind of a spectacular way to approach a record like this. How earnestly those quotes are meant or otherwise is certainly up for debate. But I think I agree with you that like loneliness, hopelessness, desperation are big themes on this album. I don't think it's an accident that this was probably largely written in the early Trump era, and the sort of extreme polarization of the political situation in the U.S., which like they wrote about on Untitled, and certainly is like, I think I've kind of a touch point for a lot of these songs. So this album starts with Witness, which is, just like any Armed record so far, is just kind of an immediately in your face, aggressive song. Although I think the synthesizer is a lot more prominent in the mix than it ever has been before for them. And the production is even denser than it usually is.
It definitely is. I think in that Noisy article, the author brings up, it sounds like every time there was a potential guitar part, it was replaced with a synth, which is like, it kind of makes sense, just given how much and how dense the synth material on this record is, and you really get it right out the gate here.
Yeah, there's a lot of moments, and I might bring up a couple specifically later on in the album, where I don't know if it's a guitar or a synth that's playing a part.
Sure.
Which is because it's either the synths are run through guitar distortion, or the guitars are like, run through bit crushers and glitchy pedals and stuff to make these totally like weird buzzsaw synthified guitar lines. They're just, they're playing with the sort of middle ground between those two instruments in a way that I think is really interesting. I was thinking a lot about Dave Fridman as a producer, and how he mixed those later Thursday albums, and trying to compare that a little bit to what Kurt Ballou is doing with the production and mix on this. And like, Fridman is a very like wall of sound guy with these very like blown out tones and stuff. And I think this album is doing a little bit of that, but at the same time, I think everything sounds more clear than it would in a Fridman mix, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. I feel like in a Fridman mix, things would get, I don't know if I want to say things would get muddied, but
no, but they would just be fuzzier. And this album certainly has its fair share of fuzz, but I think that because again, I think Kurt Ballou is a spectacular engineer. Like, stuff is able to jump out, and it is always like keeping your attention. Or just as an example, in this song, the way that there's like a drum break at one point, and the drums are like bouncing back and forth around the stereo field, which is like a cool thing to do with drums. And there's those synth parts that, like, the thing that made me think of Fridman was the way that the synth like gets way louder in those little breaks for just a second, and it really like catches your ear and is like, oh yes, there is a synthesizer here. Like, it's never going to get lost in the mix there.
I love that drum break on this song. And then there's just this wall of sound that happens at the end that gets like thicker than I think any other wall of sound the Armed has created thus far. And obviously they do that more on this record, but like it's kind of your first taste of it on this song. It does sound like also like kind of again on a more holistic level. It sounds like they like really like they went and tracked this and then kind of took what they had back to kind of do a lot of rearrangement on there and like a lot of chopping things up and rearranging them. And I don't think that like comes out as much like on this song as it does on others, but like you get hints of that here.
Yeah. What do you make of the lyrics to this one?
I mean, it kind of starts off this like really this really kind of dire outlook that this album seems to have, or rather this dire situation that the narrators on this album are living through. I haven't been able to extract much specificity beyond that on this one. Do you have like a particular anchor point on this one?
Not really, outside of just like, you know, references to 4 years as like a, you know, as a presidential term. I find I think it's a very political record. Oh
yeah.
And then this, I was trying to dig into what the like this witness for Vincent was referencing. If this was like the Saint Vincenza that was like, you know, a person who was tortured for her beliefs. I don't know if there was like what that reference is supposed to be, or if it's something just totally obscure that I don't that I missed or don't understand. But I think that I think there's something to unpack there, but I think it is sort of setting up the themes for the album, even if in a somewhat subtle way.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, that was the only possible Vincent I could come up with.
Okay.
Too, so that's fair.
Vincent the dog from Lost.
Vincent from Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah. It does have a music video also,
yes.
Which is this guy splicing film who is then visited and maybe just replaced by is it a version of himself in a spacesuit?
That is what I got from it. Yeah,
it's in typical Armed fashion. It's extremely well shot. It looks beautiful and is extraordinarily weird. But it ends with this very striking image of the guy on the ground wrapped up in film as if he's been like strangled by it.
Yeah,
you know, just a visually interesting video.
Yeah, a lot of tube lights in the like fluorescent tube lights in these videos just across the board. And they start here with the like kind of tunnel of lights that space person is in. Yeah, but like incredibly striking. That last image stuck with me quite a bit after watching that video.
Yeah. Next up is Role Models, this is where I was really like locking in on they're making the guitars sound like synths and vice versa. And I think does it keep the same synth sequencer thing from Witness? Does it just continue going through this song?
I think it might. I didn't like go back and forth to make sure of that, but I would 100% believe that's exactly what's happening here.
Yeah. And it certainly is, you know, sort of they're supposed to flow together to feel like kind of one longer piece. But this one builds up to this bridge where you get the everything's horrible sort of chant scream that I think really sets you into that desperate, lonely, everything is screwed sort of mood that the album is playing with.
Yeah, for sure. It like, yeah, this is where that theme like really like gets hammered into your skull. Like, yeah, there's some like cool production stuff happening on this too. The second time they do the no ins no outs bit, there's a synth in there that sounds like it's just been drowned. And I love that. In that noisy piece, someone was talking about like patch-based synthesis. And I was just like, this man is a true believer in the power of the synth, and I love that. Yeah, it's great. But yeah, like really like leaning even harder into the like kind of dire nature of what's inspiring the lyrics on this record.
Yeah, it's you feel kind of locked in, but not in the like I'm focused, like you're locked into a small room.
Yeah. And like this feels like it has a lot of the like kind of one instrument mentality behind it, especially behind the like no ins no outs, where like everything is just kind of crashing on like the beat as heavily as possible. So like that feels like it's kind of extending that idea here.
Yeah, it's actually it's cool how they're able to make it feel so like singularly propulsive when it is assembled the way that it is with a large group of people over, quite a bit of time in different studios and stuff like that.
Yeah.
After that is Nowhere to Be Found.
Whoa, hold on. We got to talk about the music video for Role Models real quick.
Did I miss this video?
Oh, shit. You might have. Okay, I'm going to describe it for the listener and for you.
Yeah, because I totally didn't have this in the show notes.
I'm sorry. I like watched it like right before we came on because I realized I'd also missed it because I failed to put it in the show notes apparently. So the video is they got Tommy Wiseau, famed director of the movie The Room, and they sat him in a concrete room next to a tape player, and they hit play on this song, and he is sitting there in a ghillie suit reacting to the song. And then after the song ends, he walks off. There is like a minute of silence. He occasionally says something off camera and then comes back on and then just implies that he's watching you with the like finger motion of pointing to and from his eyes to the camera.
That's awesome.
It is wild. It's pretty much if you know what Tommy Wiseau looks like and how he acts, you can imagine how this video looks.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, but all done in one take. People walk in front of the camera. It's great.
I'll have to go look this up. I can't believe I missed that. They're finding all of the music videos for them was somewhat challenging, and obviously I missed some of them because like some are on the Armed page, some are on the No Rest Until Ruin page, some are on the Sargent House page. They're like, and some are on like the Adult Swim page. They're all over the place.
They really are, and like that one was through Adult Swim specifically. So if you weren't specifically looking there, I can see how you would miss it.
Yeah. But okay, yes. So next up is Nowhere to Be Found, which I think is where you really start to feel the change in style and tone and sound that they were going for on this album. The first couple songs I can see listening to and just being like, yeah, this makes sense, is where the Armed would go, and I think Nowhere to Be Found kind of throws that all out and here's like big like room mic sounding drums. It really focused on the synths and the sequencers and stuff like that. It's a little closer to what they were doing on like the Dead Actress maybe on the last album.
Yeah, I could see that being kind of a reference point for like where this grows out of.
It's like dance music that you can't dance to.
Right, yeah, exactly. It's a cool like going in a different direction type thing, as you've already mentioned. Like and the end of the song like throws you right back off if you settled into it at all.
Yeah, well, and it's more of this just like this repeated. There's nothing more, and it's all like screamed over itself in many different layers, and it's it's just building up more this like lonely desperation, I think. This one I did watch the music video for. I did see this one, which is another again typical Armed, like starts in what looks like a regular music video with someone just doing a bit of a solo dance routine to the song, and then a guy in a monster suit walks across the set, and then the camera pans over to show the guys from the Witness video just sitting at a table, and then everything goes to hell. People are fighting, the camera is moving around in this very like the way that they would simulate ship motion on Star Trek, where it's just kind of like rocking.
Yep.
Then it just ends and people are screaming. I don't really know what is going on in this video, but I did like it.
I absolutely love it. But yeah, I also am not quite sure what's going on there. But like kind of to your point of like dance music you can't dance to, like it feels it's like I don't want to say a perversion of like dance punk, but it's kind of fitting to say it like that.
Yeah.
And to get somebody doing like kind of this modern dance and like having all the like wild strobing and like effects going on like during certain parts of the song, like it's cool as hell. All their videos are cool as hell. That never stops. Right. Yeah. I don't know. It is. I guess if I had to like try to ascribe some meaning to it, it's this idea that they're taking these
this sort of well-known form of like a pop record and just trying to like attack it, I guess, in myriad strange ways.
Yeah.
Next up is Apperception, which is just back to chaos.
You're right, yeah. We get a throat clear right at the beginning, so you get like 0.01 of a second to recenter yourself.
Yeah. I really like the line in this song. We're building a town that will lean to one side. I just thought that was a really interesting image. And you get some typical armed, like sort of shout, chant. We're not embarrassed to say who we are, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, this is like almost black metal adjacent at the start. Like, it's cool as hell. And, you know, obviously really cool synth stuff going on this track too.
Yeah, the black metal thing, I can see that coming through a little bit on the song. It's not a genre I'm super familiar with outside of like Death Heaven, who, you know, intersects with this band later on in their career. But yeah, I can definitely hear that.
Yeah, well, I mean, in fairness, this is produced much, much better than most black metal is. So
yeah, well, also
because it wasn't recorded on a Talkboy.
Next up is Parody Warning, which is the first notable use of Kara's vocals on this album that I heard. At least she's like really taking the lead here.
Yeah. This is the one that actually has the throat clearing. I just went too far in my notes on accident. Yeah, my bad on that one. But yeah, like really good Kara feature on this one. Really esoteric Bowie reference on this one. I don't know if you looked into this at all. The Nathan Adler character, who is from a lesser known Bowie album and is apparently a detective who investigates art crime and also determines what is and isn't art. I need to look more into this album, but it sounds intriguing if nothing else.
Yeah, I was like, I got to do a deep dive on Bowie, just generally. But I like that as a reference point in this song, because the song I think is very much about the way that people put artists on pedestals and the way that like you know, that makes them to be like deific in a way, and like they're fetishized, but they're, you know, really what you should do is to just kill your idols, kill your heroes where they sleep, is what it says. You know, right. How the song ends.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is kind of we're kind of back to the thing we were talking about a lot on the Untitled record, because we are in a place where are the armed that they seem to say so in that kind of that bit of the song where they do false god, I see you, I know your name, I love you, I am you. Like we're clearly like straddling a line here where we are criticizing something while also performing it a little bit. Yeah,
I was just watching Barton Fink the other day, because that's, you know, on Blank Check right now they're doing the Coens, and that gets into the same idea of like, you know, what is it to be an artist? Are you, you know, how hubristic do you have to be to call yourself an artist? It's sort of one of the central questions of that movie, and I think is exactly what they're getting at with that part of this song.
Yeah, definitely.
The aperture reveals less than what it hides is a very good line.
An incredible line, honestly.
Yeah. And more cool production stuff going on in the song. There's like either a guitar or a synth, I don't know, that does the same kind of like bouncing almost at random between the left and right channels, and like kind of overwhelms the vocals in a way that I really liked.
Yeah, I put down like a lot of fun stereo interplay with guitars / synths, because I wasn't sure which it was either, or it's maybe both.
This is a absolute headphones album. I probably should have said that
earlier.
Yeah. Like, I listen to music on a HomePod a lot while I'm working and stuff like that. And I try to, you know, get a close headphones listens in of stuff that we're covering. And I was like, I was like, the first time I listened to it, I was like, I don't know if I'm like getting the full picture here. I don't know if I'm feeling this production. And then I did a headphones listen. It's like, oh, I see. This is how it was meant to be heard.
Yes, yeah. It's if you hear this over, you know, maybe a less than like stellar sound system at first, you might be confused. But yeah, definitely a headphones record for sure.
Next up is Fortune's Daughter, which is, I feel like these two songs are kind of paired, because this is yet another song that really features Kara's vocals.
Yes.
It's it's also one that shifts into a little more of a rock / almost pop mode. There is a chorus here that is repeated many, many times, which isn't something they've done quite as much on this album so far.
Yeah, and that refrain, like, just kind of juxtaposed against like Kara's parts and like just the lyrics in those parts. It's like kind of unsettling in a weird way, like how calm that is, how like not really passive it is, because they talk about taking arms, but like we'll find a place it'll all blow over. It is, yeah, it's reassuring, and that like makes it feel off in a way that it otherwise might not. And I love that. I think that's like great songwriting technique there, honestly.
Yeah, because the rest of the song is full of fairly upsetting images.
Yeah,
that I was trying to break down into something, but it seems like a very sort of like, you know, people are caught in these the Lux prisons of subdivisions, and there's like some gruesome, what is it, justice is a toe smack in the face, stuff like that. Like,
right.
Yeah. It certainly paints a bleak picture that then yeah, we'll find a place, take arms, it'll all blow over, is this idea that, like, you know, what one of the reviews described it as, like, you know, what if, I don't remember what band they compared it to, but like, you know, what if some like hardcore band was actually just singing about starting a commune?
Fair. All right. I can see it.
Yeah. I was also trying to pull some connection of like the song title of Fortune, the Fortuna, the god of Roman god of luck, the daughter of Jupiter, which is, you know, Jupiter comes in later on this record. I don't know if there's anything to that, but there's also a book called Daughter of Fortune by Isabel Allende that is at least as described on the blurb, as a story of a young woman's search for self-knowledge. Or maybe this person represents who the author might have been in another life, which I think are interesting ideas. I don't know how much those are related to the song, but they're interesting things to think about.
Yeah, for sure. And it could be a little bit of all of them. Who knows?
Yeah. Next up is Luxury Themes, a song that I think is the entire song is in 10/4 time, which I loved.
Yep.
It took me a while to like get into the riff and be like, okay, it keeps like landing in places I didn't expect. But it is a pretty cool structure for that part. For the song. This one is mostly sung vocals, but, you know, just as usual, buried in tons of effects and atmosphere.
Yeah. This is one where, like, the drums sick on this song. They have been the whole time, but like this was the first time where I was like, oh yeah, this groove is good. But like, yeah, I was kind of like trying to parse what this song is about, and it kind of sounds like it is. It kind of sounds like it's touching on themes that the Armed has kind of touched on before, because it feels like the person being described here is like a person who is a failure in the line of the narrator, but one who is living a very comfortable life and may like not care about that, or maybe does care about that and feels like a failure as a result. I'm a little unsure about that, but that kind of seems to be the text that's popping out to me here.
Oh, I think it's a little more clear and straightforward than that. I think it's this. What I get from the song is that it's about how people who have privilege don't feel the need or the inescapable drive to make art and to create, and that like art is this way of expressing dissatisfaction or injustice or desperation or whatever. Like when you have this overwhelming feeling and the only way you can get it out is through art, and people who live privileged lives don't have the same, because they want for nothing. They don't have the same kind of like explosive need to create.
Fair enough. Yeah, that tracks. That is a much better version of what I think I was trying to get at.
And I mean, you can pick that apart too, as like not all great art needs to come from pain, certainly. So maybe that's a critique of it, but that's at least what I was getting from the song, is this idea that or at least that it feels like it's about a person who lives a luxurious life and therefore has nothing to write about.
Definitely, yeah. There's this kind of ascending synth sequence that is happening. Like the sequence itself isn't ascending, but like it is occasionally on a repeat of the sequence, it will like go up a step or something like that. And it's like kind of constant throughout the song. That is like, I started focusing on that and it made me feel tense, which I think is a great move for this song. Yeah, like you know, the kind of discomfort that the kind of juxtaposition of the two like kind of discrete parts of Fortune's Daughter did. Like that's what did it for me on this song. But it's also notable, I think, that this song just like actually like rings out a note at the end, and then there is a second of silence before you hit Heavily Lined, which is shocking for this album, frankly shocking for The Armed in general. But I like that they gave us that.
Give you one breath or
one single breath.
Yeah. But yeah, getting into Heavily Lined, which is they're doing the thing a lot on this album where the songs have a chaotic part and they have a more rock riffy not singable part, but like pop part. And a lot of the songs have kind of discrete separation between those two ideas. And I think this is definitely one of them.
It definitely is. Also the kind of the repetition on this song is like notable, but I especially like the lines, maybe shocking no one, everyone gets older, only you gave up. It reminds me of a lot of songs that we've talked about over the course of this podcast, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, just the idea of staying true to yourself and your ideals is certainly certainly central to it. I guess I'm thinking about how that sort of fits in with the other themes we've talked about on this album, but I guess the way that you see seeing someone else that you maybe were friends with when you were younger or whatever, they had shared the same ideals and now doesn't, that they're the ones that gave up, and that leads to some of that loneliness or the polarization that this album is responding to.
For sure. We should talk about the short film that accompanies this video or this song.
Another great music video. A guy who goes shopping at Home Depot and then sees some kind of vision of a guy with like Twin Peaks Red Room style voice.
Right.
And then builds this insane speaker backpack, which he takes to random places and generally wreaks havoc, which seemed like actual havoc. Like it didn't see a lot of it did not seem to be.
I genuinely think it was
scripted, and it seemed like people were really reacting to being disrupted by this guy screaming this song at them. Eating their food,
doing other various destructive things. It's why this feels to me like a companion piece to what was. I remember the video, but I'm blanking on which song it was for. It's
the same actor from
album.
The Paradise Day video. Which
is the same actor from the Paradise Day video. Yeah. Where in that video we get this like kind of fantasy world where everybody is in on the bit. Whereas this time we have this kind of, we have a fantasy world type thing happening early on, and then we have a point in which we get into the actual song, and then nobody is in on the bit. It turns out, which I kind of love.
Yeah, I think that's a good call out. The way that's kind of an inversion of that video with the same actors participating in some of the same images.
Yeah. I like that the first bit of the video, like where we're kind of doing the setup here, is actually like scored by another Detroit band, South Million, who are like an experimental electronic duo out there whose music I think I now really want to listen to.
I was certain when I looked them up that they were just going to be another like version of The Armed, or it was going to be like a secret Armed EP or something.
Genuinely kind of expected that when I looked them up too.
But it's cool that they got another cool artist to work on that with them.
Yeah.
Next up is Middle Homes, a song that I hear even more Smashing Pumpkins influence than usual on.
Yeah.
And again, more cool production stuff. They have the drums panned all the way to the left at the beginning, which is like always like off-putting to hear on an album that's not like an old Beatles stereo mix. I guess it's off-putting there too, but I like the way that they use it here.
Yeah, I think it's really cool, and like the way the drums are mixed, at least during that early part of the song, it kind of sounds like it's just a room mic that's like 20 feet away from the drums.
Yeah,
with like
exactly
a little bit
is.
of the close mic mixed in. Yeah. Like the bass drum is like kind of more prominent than it would be if it was just that, but like yeah, I love that sound, especially like when somebody makes it work really well in the context of a song, and obviously Kurt Ballou can do that very well because he's incredible.
You got to use it sparingly. Like it's the entire album sounding like that would be rough, but they bring it in at the right times to catch your ear.
Yeah. I love the metaphor I'm unrewound and rented so far from home. That's a good fucking line. There's some straight up atonal synth stuff going on this song, which I love. There's also, I don't say this to disparage at all. There's definitely a synth note that just sounds like a fart in this song. And it's pretty loud too, which I find very funny, but also like it doesn't detract from the song at all. I just like noticed it once and I was like, no, I can't unhear this.
I don't know that I specifically noticed that, but maybe I'll listen for it next time.
Yeah. But also there's like this Philip Glass ass sax part going on like after / in the bridge, which I absolutely love because I am a shill for Philip Glass.
Is this the first sax that's been on this album?
On this album, I think so. Yeah.
I definitely did not note the horns really at all as I was listening this week. Whereas they've been somewhat prominent on at least, certain moments, interludes, certain songs on the previous stuff. So next song is Ultra Glass, the penultimate song on the album. This is a song that I think is pretty clearly about military recruiters.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one.
Yeah, and is also a return to 10/8 time or 10/4 or 10/8 time, which I like much more than I like military recruiters. But
sure, fair.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think of this one?
I like this one a lot. I was this was one where I was actually able to like dive into like what is this line that I don't know this person's name about. The now everyone is part of war. Tell me more. Gerasimov. Apparently, Gerasimov is a let's see, what did I write down about this person? Was a Russian general. But the reference that's being made here, like they talk about this in one of the interviews, is that he wrote this kind of doctrine on like kind of modern warfare and how things like misinformation play into that. And the like weird tricky thing about it is that like this doctrine like was maybe deliberately translated by like Western media. This guy claims that he was simply like observing like Western like military tactics and like kind of talking about the non-military ways in which like war plays out. But it has been spun over here and in other countries to be this kind of like plan for Russia to like, do things like disrupt elections and like do warfare without actually doing warfare in a lot of ways, or like sow the seeds of war and stuff like that. It is maybe a little unclear what is actually happening here, much like with The Armed.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to unpack in that idea that like, and it's certainly like you said, armed adjacent themes of what is the like what is information versus misinformation. What how does that creep into the culture, and how does it affect the media you consume, the world, the people around you, the art that you make, stuff like that. I think there's a lot. Yeah, it's. I don't know that I have like a deeper analysis of it than that, other than that. Yeah, you're right that this is like fertile ground for the Armed to explore.
Yeah, well, I mean, they talk in kind of the interviews around this cycle how they were like, yeah, like kind of wild to see like the obfuscating kind of stuff that we do, like kind of becoming this idea of fake news in the modern era, like over the course of the few years between the Untitled record and this, like
where
that became a concept that we were all now aware of.
Right, with the stakes being much higher than just like, who is in a rock band.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, that seems a little harsh, but I also understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. This is one of the few songs on the record that has an explicit reference to love, thinking about how the album title plays into the themes of the album.
Yeah.
And I took that as what a military recruiter would project as like, you'll find your family in the military or whatever, when you join up, which is, then it changes to perfect sounding love at the end, implying that, what you find is not what they promised.
Yeah, that turn at the end is it hits pretty hard for like even if you're not like engaging that much with the song, like you hear perfect love perfect a couple of times and then you hear perfect sounding love at the end. It's like, oh, that's the idea we're settling on. That sucks.
Yep. And then we get to the closing track, which is called On Jupiter. I was so excited to hear a song about Toynbee tiles, one of the weirdest, strangest anonymous public art projects that I am aware of, and that is just a perfect fit for the Arm to write about.
It really is. I had completely forgotten about this until encountering this song that is literally about them.
Yeah, if you've never,
I remember learning about them a while ago, but
yeah, Toynbee tiles are this. It's this. I guess a one person or maybe many people probably ultimately would just make little mosaics in like potholes basically on streets across around New England, and they all said weird stuff, but one of them, the I guess kind of the most well-known one, was said Toynbee idea in Kubrick's 2001 resurrect dead on planet Jupiter. Who the hell knows what that means, but it just, the idea of like guerrilla art basically feels so of the Armed, and so the song kind of quotes or hints at certain some of the Toynbee mythology, I guess, all around these like very anxious synthesizers and filtered vocals that cuts into this cool bass solo, and then the rest of the song just sounds like getting sucked into a jet engine, I guess. I don't know how else to describe what happens at the end of this song.
My note on that turn is quote, revealing teeth, end quote, and then in all caps, the loudest sound you've ever heard. And then everything is doing a blast beat for a while, and it rules. And then it's a noise song for the like remaining like couple of minutes of it. I described it as it sounds like this track overheats itself and then just starts to fall apart.
Yeah.
It's wild. I love this song. It's a great closer, I think.
It is like nothing else they've done thus far in their career, I think. Even though I feels like every song is kind of like that, but this one really felt like a something I had not heard before.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's a surprising turn for a band that does a lot of surprising turns.
Yeah. I want to make one kind of maybe leap in lyrical references here in this song. But this kind of middle section that is about a megaphone preacher, whatever, I could just read it. It's like 8 words. The megaphone preacher, this town full of heroes in every corner, a love everlasting, repent and believe. This idea of like basically, being preached to. And I was connecting that back to Jupiter as like the king of the Roman gods pre-Christianity taking over ancient Rome. Feels like there's something to that, this idea that, and maybe even tying back to the idea of the sort of fake news that we were talking about in the previous, or disinformation we were talking about in the previous song, that like this, these promises of a love that is maybe not true, but people like to promise that it is, can kind of overwhelm you. It feels like there's something to that in this song, and maybe that's the connection to draw back to the album title and is related to what we were thinking that the album kind of about, of this loneliness, desperation, and that there's people are gonna try to convince you that there's, that their kind of love is the one that will get you out, but not everyone will be telling the truth about that.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a thing we've talked about with other bands. This kind of like the desperation of an individual, like leading to you seeking out this kind of love that is being put on offer here, but behind the scenes it is just, as they mentioned in Ultra Glass, perfect sounding love. I think you might be spot on with that. Like it might not go as deep as that, but it also probably actually does.
Yeah. Either way, it is a great closing track for this album.
Totally.
There are a couple other songs from this era. No other like kind of official B-side. I mean, I guess Night City Aliens kind of is, but we should talk about Apocalypse Song. So around sometime in 2020 that they did this, that they released this. This was an unfinished demo from these sessions that they put up on the internet, and when I say they put it up on the internet, they put up the isolated like individual tracks and just told fans to finish this demo or remix it or do whatever. Did you listen to any like fan versions of this?
I didn't get a chance to, but I'm going to go back and do that, because I did, like, when I searched for the hashtag that they asked you to accompany it with, there was one version of it that kept popping up. So I should probably at least listen to that.
Have you thought about making your own remix of it?
I mean, now I am a little bit.
I want to hear the Bloodpack Scout version of this song.
Oh God, yeah, maybe. I don't know. They said they wanted to replace those placeholder guitars with synths, so that does feel like my calling a little bit.
Yeah.
I might give it a shot.
I mean, as an unfinished demo, it's cool that it's out there, I guess. I don't think I have much to say about it as a song. I think the way that they released it is really cool, though.
Yeah, it sounds like the bassist for an Armed song, and therefore it's pretty sick, but it is missing, some pretty crucial ingredients, especially like coming out of this era. Yeah. Such as like the synths and the vocals.
Yeah. But a full song that came from this era was Night City Aliens, which is on the soundtrack to the video game Cyberpunk 2077. I've never played this game. I don't really know much about it.
Played this game.
Outside of David Sims's quip about it on Blank Check, where he said that he spent too much time designing his character's penis and not enough time playing the game.
That was a lot of people's experience, from what I understand.
Yeah. I think this song really does feel like it has the vibe of Only Love. Feels, I think, most connected to Parody Warning and Fortune's Daughter, because Kara has a lot of vocals on it. What do you think of this song?
Mm-hmm. I kind of landed in the same place. Like it feels like a little bit of an extension of this album. This song is also apparently done in collaboration with Homeschool Dropouts, who I did not bother to look up. Sorry. I'm sure they're a good band, but I know nothing about them.
I mean, I would not have guessed that there was a collaborating artist on the song. It feels so Armed.
I know, that's the thing.
Yeah. I also like that this is a song that's on the soundtrack of a video game that I think is about how video games are sort of destructive to free will, if that makes sense. Like, I think that this
kind of makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you can read this as being about how when you play a video game, you're often sort of on rails, you're restricted in the things you're allowed to do, and how like this specifically mentions like curated structures and formal yarns and missions, which are all like just ways of saying that you actually don't really have any choice in this world. And then I feel like the end of the song is this desensitization to the violence that video game characters often do. It's I pull the trigger and I feel nothing. And maybe it's not meant to be as meta as I'm taking it, but I couldn't help but pick up on some of that and feel like it was a critique of video games themselves or as an art form.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know how like deeply tied to the actual lore of this game it is, because again, I have not played it. All I know about this game is it was deeply broken when it originally came out. and then it got a lot better.
Well, Night City
which is great.
Night City is the place where the game takes place, so there's at least some connection to the lore of the game.
Okay, all right. Well, that's cool.
Should have had a real gamer on to school us on Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, damn. We're gonna redo this episode someday, and we'll bring on a real gamer to tell us about Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, I like the song though.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts on the Only Love era of the Armed before we get to some random recommendations?
I mean, I really something that was kind of mentioned in like folks' analysis of this record, like the reviews, the kind of features where the authors were like kind of talking about their opinions on the album. I kind of agree with the like statement that like this feels like a natural next step for them and also a wholly unexpected next step for them. And that's like kind of what I love about this band in general, is that like they always find a way to refresh whatever they've had going on previously. And like, this album like so distinctly sounds like The Armed, but also doesn't quite sound like anything The Armed has done thus far. And like, me looking at this in retrospect, it does definitely sound like a step towards what they do next. But yeah, I think this record absolutely fucking rules.
Yeah, there's an element, it just sort of anecdotally, I guess, from just kind of skimming the message boards and stuff, and some of the writing about this album, is it feels like it's either the one where you got off the Armed train or the one where you got on.
Yeah, that just feels right
because of where it sits in their discography, and it represents that kind of like expansion of their sound and of their fan base, but also like real deviation from their roots in a way that I could imagine upset a lot of fans.
Yeah, I could absolutely see that. But I feel like the people they picked up along the way with this one probably far outweighs that at this
certainly
point.
Yeah.
Like I did that. Did you read that Dan Ozzie like kind of retrospective on this kind of
really
era, where he gets hit in the head with a beer can and it has his like life completely reset by it? Apparently,
yeah.
Apocryphally, yeah. Like, yeah. It feels like people feel deeply about this album, and I can absolutely see why. Especially if you were there as it was happening.
Right. And it's the end of their independent era. They signed to Sargent House for their next record. So it's a good sort of dividing line in their career in that way too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I really liked it. It is, I think I am more sort of in awe of it as a production piece than I am as like excited about the songs the way that I was about a lot of Untitled. So I don't know how we'll rank these. Well, I got a few weeks to decide that. But it is cool seeing this band evolve, as I've said, I think on both episodes so far. Do you have a random recommendation for this week?
I do, and I'm going to be very selfish with this one. So as you are listening to this, I will have a new thing out, EP. I'm just calling it an EP at this point because it's 5 songs. The name got mentioned earlier on this episode. I make ambient music as Blood Pact Scout. I have an EP coming out on the 8th, so a few days from when we're recording this, but a few days after we're recording this, a few days before you will hear this. The EP is called To Live Slowly Without Fear of Its Consequences. I don't know why I gave it such a long title. The thought occurred to me one day, and I latched onto it really hard. But it's a bunch of stuff that I either recorded live or wrote with the intention of playing it live, and I'm very proud of it, and I hope that a lot of people listen to it. And that's all I have to say about it. Thank you for listening.
I will also say that it is really good. I have heard it.
Yeah, Troy was my like last person to listen to it before I like approved the final masters. So thank you, Troy.
Yeah, no problem.
What you got?
Yeah, I'm excited for more people to hear it. I am going to recommend, this is going to sound such a strange thing to recommend right after you're talking about your beautiful ambient record. I'm just going to say, I'm going to phrase this differently. I'm going to recommend listening to something that you loved when you were 12 years old and in thinking a lot about how it sounds with fresh ears and what resonated with you about it then and what still resonates with you about it now. Because this is the experience I had listening to Good Charlotte's The Young and the Hopeless today. One of the first albums that I like truly loved, like from the pop punk scene. That and So Long Astoria by the Ataris kind of came out around the same time, and I really like latched on to the Young and the Hopeless, and I was like, I will go on the internet and defend these dudes as real punks, even though I knew nothing about anything. But that album was really special to me when I was in like 5th and 6th grade, and because Good Charlotte has a new album coming out this week, I was like, I'm gonna go back and listen to these old ones and see, if they are just total cornball shit or if there's something there. And like there's like half cornball shit, but also I really, really like a lot of those songs. The hits are still true, genuine hits. Like Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous is a really, really great like pop song. But the thing that struck me about going back to this album this time is the songs about the Madden brothers family are so affecting, even if they're like totally unsubtle, and these lyrics are not like Pulitzer Prize winning, poetry or whatever. They are I don't know if there's a Pulitzer Prize for poetry, but they're not, they're not going to win awards for the lyrics, but they are, I think, really deeply felt, and you can hear the emotion in Joel Madden's voice as he's singing these songs in a way that I don't think I really picked up on then. This is a lot about his father leaving their family. And I mean, this album made me want to hug my kids, which is like not a feeling that I often feel after listening to a pop punk album that's not like The Hum Goes On Forever. So yeah, my recommendation is either listen to The Young and the Hopeless and enjoy it, or have a similar experience with something you loved as a kid.
I will go listen to The Young and the Hopeless because I haven't listened to that album in forever. But I also loved it when I was young, and I have a feeling, given all of that I will have different but still mostly positive feelings about it now.
Yeah, it's a fun one to go back to. All right. Yeah. That is it for this week. Find us on the internet at noisefloorpodcast.com or on Instagram at noisefloorpod. Send us emails at noisefloorpodcast@gmail.com. And we will be back next week. Oh, we're taking a break from The Armed next week. Next week is our revisiting Rise Against, because they have an album coming out very soon. And that album is called Ricochet, and we have not heard it yet. I sent an email to their publicist and asked nicely if we could hear it early, and was ignored, which is about what I expected. But I'm excited to hear this album despite being kind of lukewarm on the singles. So yes. Yeah. It'll be fun to revisit a band. This will be the first time we're kind of going back to a band with a new record, so I'm looking forward to that.
I am very excited to have this experience for the first time in this context.